What's going on YouTube? It's the Gym Slasher back at it again. CJ3 could have been anywhere in the world. You chose to be here with me, and I appreciate that. Hit the like, hit the subscribe, hype me up, do whatever, man. Just show me that love, and I'll give it right back. Without further ado, let's kick right back into it. My locks, the journey, why cut them, right? So I did a couple of shorts on this. They're on YouTube. I did it on my IG. I feel like there'll be enough time to kind of sit on this a little bit, go into a little bit more in case somebody really wanted to get more involved in terms of the story, in terms of my own journey into this process. Let's start off by saying this. Everyone has their own journeys and their own process to be better than themselves. They want to improve. You're looking for, any ways to help build yourself. And some people go through great lengths of trying to find that. And I think is the biggest thing with anybody is learning about yourself first and then spawning out from there, bringing out from there. So this journey was an individual process for myself, devoid of anybody else. That include all my friends, family, loved ones, everyone. This wasn't a thing for them. It was internally for myself to work on. So people that know me knew that I've always kept low fades, and this was a 13-year process of growing my hair out, and I decided on coming to that conclusion where it was time for a change, time for something to move on from that process. But it was no knock to anything. It wasn't, I'm tired of this style. It wasn't, this costs too much, or the maintenance of it, of my hair, of my locks. It wasn't any of that. It was literally me graduating to a level. So what started it was I wanted to work on myself. I was transitioning from one career path to another career path. And I began to set back and to hone in on what things that I need to work on, what things that I need to build from, my goods, my bads, my indifferences, right? It essentially self-reflection, right? Self-reflection is key to anyone when you're trying to achieve or get better. Then you have to have that self-assessment, an honest self-assessment about yourself. Because people can gas you up, people can put you down, but it's important for you to look at yourself from a clear lens with all honesty. You have to be true to yourself. So one of my biggest things that I knew I needed to work on was patience. I had patience when patience was everything was going well, right? It was easier said than done. When things are good, yeah, I could show good patience. But when things went awry or things began to have murky waters, or, the waves are a little bit bigger than normal, that's when, the Gym Slasher would not fare too well in terms of handling those in the proper way. They got done, but it was rushed, or it wasn't built with much thought. So as I was looking through my self-reflection, I knew that where I wanted to get to, my journey, where I wanted to end, but I didn't know how to start and how to work on. So as fate would have it, I knew some good friends of mine that practiced in certain other things that they did. And I'm not big on faith and like really strong on spiritualities and religions and all that. No knock or against, or not for or against. Hey, what makes you be at your best, follow those practices. I'm not a knock on any of it, but I'm just the one who steps away from that more or less. However, I do pick up things from other groups, other entities in terms of spiritualities and stuff. There's parables, there's, Psalms, there's all kinds of things from all kinds of books and people that helps you in terms of understanding life and world and all that. So I think it's all valuable. So I'm not closed-minded to any particular one. I'm very, very much vast and wide in terms of gaining all kinds of information, in terms of just learning about the world and learning about yourself. So with that, I was able to get in touch and talk with a couple of Rastafarian brethren who were awesome, that helped me out along the journey. And I just by chance just was telling them I was in this transition, and I had this conversation with them and saying that, hey, I'm moving on, and I want to learn, build myself, and And they asked me, well, what are the things you're trying to work on? I said, one of them is patience. So we went into this long conversation, and he said, well, why don't you grow your hair out? I said, grow my hair? Absolutely not. I don't have the patience for it. And I said that, and his eyes lit up like, that's why you need to do it. And I was like, well done. Yeah, you kind of caught me in that trap right there, but I was like, you know what? Fair enough. So we went in, and I said, all right, and I decided internally to start this process. So when I did, it was what he told me was, this journey, you growing out your hair, you're a tangible person, you're a hands-on person. You like to see your results, you like to see progress. And this is the best way of you seeing your process. So as you're growing out your hair, I need you to learn about yourself, reading about patience and journeys, and finding the joy in the journey, finding the joy in the practice. I was halfway there because I was always lifting weights. I was always working out. I loved the build up. So he was helping me with that. He's like, you're halfway there. You understand building up to something. You are an athlete. So you're halfway there, understanding you need practice. You got to put in the work. You got to be consistent, disciplined. These things, you're already halfway there. It's just that you'll get to a point where you just go, you know what, I did enough and this ain't it. I'm out, But now find the joy in that practice. Find the joy and have a rhythm to you about that practice. So I was like, you know what, that does make sense, So there I began that journey back in 2013. And I hadn't looked back until, a month ago. So as I begin that journey, and I was reading, studying, practicing, applying what I'm learning in real time, and I'm seeing these results starting to reveal themselves. I'm starting to see these things happening in real time that was already there. It's just that I wasn't seeing them. Patience, like I've said in the shorts, they get a negative connotation a lot of times because people think it's very passive. People think it can be a cousin of laziness because you're sitting back, because you're, observing. But it's quite the opposite. It's actually, I wouldn't say aggressive like in a literal context, but it's more honed in. It's more focused on your goals at hand, what's important to you, what's important around you, and what's not important. And then taking the one step, focus on one step at a time. Like you literally, in my mind, I'm literally looking at one step at a time and focusing in on those steps. But things that are not important, I'm just letting them go off to the side. So internally, I'm working on this energy of, this is the plan, this is the focus. Everything else that is not part of this plan, part of this focus, is irrelevant. So because of that, you get this sense of not necessarily, yes, tunnel vision, but you're still aware of your surroundings, but you can see what's important, you can see what's not. So then you become more aware at opportunities that present themselves. And the universe has a way of showing you if you know your patience or not. It's going to try you. And I don't want to get so far up into, like I said, religions or spiritualities, because again, I don't literally practice any of them, but a general consensus that I've, over my years of studying, they all come into, whether if it's karma, whether if it's spirits, whether if it's energy, like chakra energy, they all have the common denominator. The universe will teach you one way or another. The universe will show you if you're learning things or not, and they're going to put obstacles in front of you to see if you practice them. However, if you do achieve it, break that mode and you succeed, you get better, you upgrade. So what began to happen over these years was that I was not only practicing, I was applying what I was learning. I was getting better at it. I was getting better at my patience, to the point where I can just do it on rhythm, right? And every now and then I went astray, for sure, where I was just like, you know what, I'm not having it and all that. And that's just part of human. I'm not perfect. I'm with flaws like anybody else, but in terms of the base and the foundation, that happening more often than not was starting to dwindle more and more and more, to the point where I can see those things coming, and I knew exactly what to do to diffuse those situations. So last year, close in the middle part of summer, I realized that as I was looking at my locks, as I was going through, and I was just like, I think it became a burden. It became the opposite. So I reached out to the same brethren that helped me out with my starting path. And I was talking to him about it, and he started laughing. He was like, it's because you got to your graduation phase. Your locks for you was not for style, for just for style and or rebellion or some of those other reasons why people like to grow them locks out. And those there's nothing wrong with those reasons either. But for me, my locks were a tie-in to my growth. So he said, for you, you graduated. It's time to probably move to that next phase. You don't need them anymore. And you probably are getting that vindication from other people that are around you that are just happen to talk about, hey, you was really cool in that situation. Or, man, you must have the patience of a spider, because I couldn't do that, this and this and this, And I was like, man, you know what? You're right. I do get a lot of compliments on that. And I was from personal friends, from people that don't really know me or outside in, from workplaces and stuff like that. And I said, yeah, you're right. That is happening. He's like, it's time for you to move to the next level. And he said, now listen, when you get to that level of removing them, you have to cut those locks. No one else can. You can't go to the barber and have them cut them off. Now they got to clean you up, but in terms of cutting each lock off, that's part of your process. And I said, wow, that's different. I said, well, what is the reason behind that? He said, one is the spiritual connection that you're going to have with your locks. He said, two, those locks personify your drive. You get to touch them. If you get them cut by a barber going to cut them off, sweep them up, toss them out. For you, you're going to see each one as a reason of why you had your patience, as a reason of your journey. He said, when you get them all cut, you're going to save a couple of them, and you're going to hand them out to people that inspired you, people that meant something to you. Now, in Rastafarian culture, they do that often. Here in the States, some people may be freaking out about you handing them some of your hair, So he said you might want to be careful in terms of who you give that to. But I already had the people in mind and who I wanted to give those to. And for myself, he said you're going to keep one or two, or if you want to keep the whole bag, or keep all your locks and have them in the bag, go ahead and do that. And I did. I still have them, not for any way that I'm going to grow them back to tie. I'm not doing that anymore. Not because I don't have the patience. I got that. It's just that I graduated from that, so I don't need to do them anymore. Mission accomplished is just to keep them as a way to learn. But he said to take a couple of them out for myself and place somewhere where I can always see them at, to where I can see the length of my journey. So for me, here's one of my locks here, right? So he said to lay them out flat, similar like this. I got one on my desk. And you get to always, if you just want to sit back and reflect, you can always look at your start of your locks and then the end. You can look at the start of your journey and the end, and how long that took you, and the process and the journey that you could look along the way to, sit back and be impressed by the work that you put in. So from there, my locks is always with me. So I don't have to have them on top of my head. I just moved them from one end to another where I still see them and I still have them. So that helped me. Why I brought this up and why I'm spending this 15-minute video on locks and hair and journeys is the same thing for you as an athlete, the same thing for you when we watch these entertainers, these stars, these people. For yourself, as you go on your journeys and your goals, you don't have to do something as extreme as mine was in terms of understanding yourself. But the biggest thing on learning that is to appreciate the journey that you're going on, appreciate the drive, appreciate every step that goes along the way to achieve it. And that's at your pace. It's not at anybody else's. Mine was 13 years in the making. For some people, it could be 1, could be 2, could be 10, could be 20, right? But for me, I had to get there, and internally, I knew when it was time for me to move to the next step. So for you guys, I say the same thing when I end these. I say, who are you? What is your mission? Right? Part of those things when I'm asking that is, what do you have your journey in mind? Or how far along are you in your journey? Do you know your steps? Do you know what you're supposed to be doing? What's important to you? Right? So with all that being said, I hope this helps someone out there, that just helped them along the way, and I hope this reach out to them. I just wanted to kind of give a little bit more of a layered conversation in terms of the what and reason and why, and I hope this hit to someone. But y'all let me know what y'all think about it, man. What is y'all journeys? What did y'all travel? What helps y'all? What was something you needed to work on and you got it, and you decided on persevering through it, and helping someone else out. So with that being said, who are you? What is your mission? I appreciate you. Thank you for sticking around on this long, lengthy video, but I appreciate it. Until next time, peace.